What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you my Week 14 college football playoff projections as we head into Conference Championship weekend of the 2023 college football season. This is officially the last weekend here before we find out who the four teams are going to be in the college football playoff top four bracket and everything. We're going to find out, that of course on Sunday and see who those top four teams are. So these will be officially my final playoff projections here. I feel like I just started this yesterday. I feel like, we just started, with the early picks, and then, of course, in the second half of the year, things were starting to heat up and everything, but now we are heading into the final weekend. And again, this will be my final projections here for the 2023 season. And again, it's also based off of my conference championship picks from, over the course of the week. And if you have not seen those conference championship videos and picks, go back and check them out, and you'll see who I pick here in my playoff projections. And a little bit later today, I'll give you my New Year's Six Bowl projections as well. And again, these are my final playoff projections heading into conference championship weekend. So let's get right into it here. Well, here's a look at the bracket here for the college football playoff. Again, the number 1 versus number 4 matchup will take place in the All-State Sugar Bowl. And then the number 2 versus number 3 seed will take place in the Rose Bowl. So we're going back to the old ways where the playoff usually started. Back then when it was like 2014, these are where the locations were. So let's get right into my number 1 seed here. My number 1 seed, I got them winning their conference championship, finishing out undefeated. And I think that team is going to be Georgia. So I am picking Georgia as my number 1 seed here. I think they'll clearly be the number 1 seed. I got them winning the SEC championship game by 3 points against Alabama. I just think Georgia, when they get into those big games, I think they're going to just be playing their best game. I know they didn't look good against Georgia Tech, but that was a cupcake game, to be honest. When they play those cupcake games, I feel like Georgia is not as dominant as they are. But, I think when they get into those big games, like, for example, Alabama's a big game this weekend. If they play their best game, they're definitely going to win the game, no question about it. So Georgia here at number 1. I think they'll be clearly the number 1 seed here for the playoff, even they win the SEC championship. So we'll see what happens there. If Georgia can knock off Alabama tomorrow night, we'll see what happens from there. So Georgia here is my number 1 seed. My number 2 seed is going to be the Michigan Wolverines. I think Michigan will be that number 2 seed. I think they win their conference championship game pretty easily against Iowa. I did say that Michigan probably has the easiest conference championship game this weekend. I just don't think Iowa's on Michigan's level. I think Michigan is just way too talented, and I just think it's going to be an easy path for Michigan, and plus they get Jim Harbaugh back. And, with the win over Ohio State, I just have a lot of confidence that Michigan is going to win and everything. So I got Michigan here at number 2, and now we go into the number 3 seed. And then my number 3 seed for me is Florida State. So Florida State, I'm picking them as my number 3 seed. You look at Florida State, they do got Louisville coming up this weekend. I think they are going to beat Louisville here just because I think Louisville lost to Kentucky and everything. I just don't think that's going to be a big-time matchup now. And even without Jordan Travis, I do have confidence that Florida State is going to win that game. And I don't know if they can get in as a number 3 seed, to be honest. If they, beat Louisville, what's going to happen from there? Does Oregon maybe jump them with a 1 loss, with a 1 loss on their schedule? And maybe they jump, Florida State if Florida State finishes like 13-0. That's going to be a big-time, question and everything, what the committee is going to do on that Sunday. But I think Florida State gets in there at number 3. I mean, I don't really think the committee is going to put like a undefeated team behind like a 1-loss team, but we'll see what happens and everything. And then obviously I just talked about them. Let's go to my number 4 seed, and that team is definitely going to be Oregon. So Oregon is my number 4 seed. I do have them winning the Pac-12 championship, of course, against Washington. I think Oregon's going to come out for revenge in that game, and plus this team has been playing some really solid football. I just don't really see them struggling in that game against Washington. I know it's a big-time game, but let's be honest, Washington, for them, they did beat Oregon in the regular season, but let's be honest, it's hard to beat a team like 2 times in a row, that you already beat in the regular season. So that's really the case. I don't think it's going to really happen here. I think Oregon gets revenge. It kind of goes back to the Georgia and Alabama conference championship game back in 2021. When Georgia lost the SEC championship, they came out and in the national championship and obviously got revenge on Alabama. You can just see how tough it is to beat the same team that you already already beat twice in the or actually already beat like one time. Whether it's a conference championship game or a regular season. So these are my top 4 teams. I think this is exactly what the playoffs going to look like. I don't have really big confidence about it, but I think this is how it's going to look like. Again, Georgia I think clearly gets in at number 1 just because of that win over Alabama. Even they do win that game. So, and then Michigan, I think they have the easiest conference championship game against Iowa. And again, I don't think Iowa is on Michigan's level. And then Florida State, even without Jordan Travis, I think they're going to get in there as a number 3 seed. I don't really see the committee putting a one-loss team ahead of an undefeated team, but it could happen. You never know. Oregon might be number 3, and then Florida State will probably be at number 4. But I'm going to go ahead and say that Oregon will be number 4 just because they have that one loss. So these are my top 4 teams heading into Week 14 of my playoff projections. And again, these are my final projections here for week number 14. And let's go ahead and make some predictions here. If these games were to happen tomorrow, I like to do this every single week by week. So Georgia and Oregon, a rematch from last year's regular season game. I still think Georgia is clearly the better team here. I don't really think Oregon is on Georgia's level, to be honest. I know Oregon has been playing really solid football, but I just think if this game were to happen, I would pick Georgia to win this one. So I think Georgia wins that game. Not pretty easily. Like I said, I probably think, they'll win it by at least 10 to 13 points or something in that range. So I think Georgia does beat Oregon here if these were to happen. Again, this is not an official prediction. This is simply a projection just based off of what the teams have been like this year. And then Michigan and Florida State once again here in the semifinal. I'm still picking Michigan either way, and without Jordan Travis in there, I think Michigan is going to win this game. Not pretty easily, but I think even without Jordan Travis, I don't think Florida State has a really good opportunity to go up against that Michigan defense and that Michigan offense as well. So we got Georgia versus Michigan here in the national championship in Week 14. And like I've been saying ever since the preseason, Georgia has been my pick to win a three-peat. I know it sounds crazy. I know Georgia probably, a lot of fans are not saying that Georgia is not going to repeat. They're not going to do like a three-peat and everything. It's never going to happen. But I tell you what, again, when Georgia gets into these big games, they're definitely like a really dominant team. And again, when they play cupcake games, they're not really good at all. But, Georgia, when they play in these big games, and let's say if they play Michigan this weekend, I think that's a big game for them. And I just think they're going to come out there and really, compete and everything. So with that being said, I think Georgia does win it here. They're still my pick to win the national championship. And they're still also my preseason pick as well. So again, Georgia, I think I got them winning the SEC championship, and also I think they'll still win it here, even like in week number 14, just based off of what this team has been like this year. But we'll make some real predictions for the college football playoff, semifinal games. Once those semifinal games come out, we probably will do them probably after Christmas, perhaps. Those predictions will still come a long ways to go, but we'll see what happens here. Again, these are my week 14 college football playoff projections here heading into conference championship weekend. Stay tuned for the New Year's Six Bowls coming out later today, so stay tuned for that video. But thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.